One, this is JCI Michigan's membership roundtable. On the call right now, we've got Neil Fitzgerald from JCI USA, and he's going to facilitate this discussion on membership recruitment and retention and any other membership questions we have. On the call from, we also have a few viewers in the discussion, Shannon and Derek, and Caroline. So, Neil, if you want to go ahead and take the floor.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, good afternoon, actually, because you're on Eastern time. Hi, I'm Neil Fitzgerald. I'm from JCI USA, living over in California. My current title for 2008.
Well, I guess that's typical of technology. Looks like we've lost Neil for a second.
Oh, it's weird. Hello.
All right, you're back. Go ahead and continue.
Okay, I was going to say, no, I'm here. So, hi everybody. I'm Neil. I'm from JCI USA. I am our director of chapter development, and what that means is I travel around the United States, starting up new chapters. We've done 22 this year so far, and I think that we can probably get to 25 by the end of the year. One of the things I also do is help our chapters who are struggling a little bit and who need to do a rebuild. And essentially, whether you are a brand new chapter, whether you are a rebuilding chapter, or whether you are an extremely successful chapter, membership is crucial to how your chapter operates, survives, and thrives. And there's many different parts of membership. The core things that I would say is, one, it's about your recruitment, who are you bringing in, and two, it's also about your retention. Now, for the people that are on the call, you're probably like me, where you've drunk the JCI US Kool-Aid, or the JC Kool-Aid, right? We know that people who sign up and then renew again, so they renew for 2 years in a row, are probably going to be JCs until they age out. And if you say to them, oh, you're going to be a JC till you age out, they'll probably turn around to you and go, I'm going to be a JC for the rest of my life, right? And we know that we've got this huge history, and we know that we've got loads of senators and alumni who were JCs for years, who still consider them JCs, even though they're aged out. And we also know as well that the people who sign up and who are super enthusiastic and who get involved, a lot of the time, those are the people who then go into leadership positions within the state or within nationals as well. So there's a direct link. There's also a direct link with the engagement between the people who have signed up and carry on renewing and the people who go to conventions, and whether that is the state conventions or whether that is a national event as well. Once you go to state conventions and national events, you are more plugged in, and you feel like you're more about the wider JC family. And I always reference the fact that I moved to America in 2012 and didn't know anybody. And I joined my local chapter, and it took me a couple of months to feel quite comfortable with it. And then I was being chapter president in 2013, and I didn't really know much about nationals. And then in 2014, I went to what was called Local President Summit, which is kind of what Leadership Training University is now, but it was just for chapter presidents. And I met 3 other chapter presidents, Katie, Emily, and Miranda, one from West Virginia, one from Maryland, and one from Mississippi. And they're now my best friends. And we talk daily on WhatsApp. And Emily is actually your national vice president for this year. Miranda's actually started up some new chapters as well. And it was through talking to other JCs in other parts of the country that I really felt part of the wider JC network. And actually what that did for me as well is being a chapter president can be a little bit lonely sometimes, because the buck stops with you. Or when you're a state officer as well, the buck stops with you. And so having that network of people to talk to was amazing. And one of the things that I always remember was my first national convention was Baltimore in 2014. So my first national thing was Local President Summit in January 14. And I didn't really know much about the national conventions either. And it was through going to that training that everyone's like, you've got to come to nationals. And because I'd got on so well with these people, I was like, yeah, I'm going to come. So we go to Baltimore, and I really enjoyed the trainings. But what I really enjoyed was the interaction and the one-on-one with other JC members. And I was talking about how we needed to start planning for our toy drive that we do in my local chapter, and how we had lost a lot of members over the years and we were getting smaller. And I was a bit concerned that we didn't have enough manpower to pull off this event, because we take 250 people ice skating and give them a lot of Christmas presents as well. And I was like, this is a huge event. I'm not entirely sure we're going to have enough people to do it this year. And actually, it was through talking to Miranda, Katie and Emily on the light rail in Baltimore that we came up with a plan of going out there and talking to other non-profits and saying, well, if you're helping these people, why don't you ask them for help in exchange? Or have you thought about doing another event that's a little bit different, because not everybody likes children? Maybe you can do something to help seniors or the homeless or veterans. And then you get more people in that way, so that you have a wider pool of volunteers and a wider pool of members. And I remember texting my home chapter and they were like, we thought you were at convention and we wouldn't hear from you. I'm like, I've got all these great ideas. This is so cool. I've got all these fantastic ideas from other parts of the country. And that really, really helped our toy drive. And that really, really helped our membership, because what we did was we were doing something new and something different. And I had members thank me who said, look, we understand that helping, underprivileged children is important and making sure they have a Christmas present, but I'm much more about seniors, and I feel bad for seniors that are isolated during the holidays. So I'm really glad that you gave us a senior party. And actually, that was a lesson for me as a leader, because I said, well, it's not necessarily me giving it to you or allowing you to do it. When you're a JC, you literally can do everything. If you put together a plan, your chapter will support you. And one of the members said, well, Neil, I've never really felt like I've had that opportunity to contribute and for my ideas to be listened to. And they said that they felt like they weren't going to renew, but because we were doing this senior centre social now over the holidays, they had something to strive for and aim for. And I thought that was a really important lesson. So that's a long opening story, but I guess where I'm coming from with this is that you've got to give the people what they want. And that sounds simple, but one of the things that we do within the JCs too often is we say that's the way we've always done it, or we come across that because we are so enthusiastic that for a new person, they don't feel like they can fully engage. And you've got to remember at all times with membership is that the people who are running your chapter in your state, you are essentially selling a product. And you've got to make sure that the product that you're selling represents what you're doing. So if you are going to talk about leadership, and in Michigan, one of your phrases has been, we build leaders, right? Very, very simple to understand. But if you're going to go down the leadership development path, you need to make sure that you have events throughout the year that scream leadership, so that the people that you've got signing up stay. Now, the good news is that in Michigan, you guys are beating the national average for retention in 2017, which is absolutely awesome. So your retention rate in 2018 is 70%, and the national one at the moment is around 65%. Last year, your retention rate was 69%. So you've actually managed to increase your retention rate by 1%. Now, 1% doesn't sound very much, but for a state that's got over 1,000 members, that's still significant. And that is something for you to all think about next year as well. And if you're in a chapter where your retention isn't growing by 1%, then you should be asking for states and asking your regional directors and asking your other chapters how they're doing it. Because you probably will find within those stats that you've got some chapters that have got a retention rate higher than the 70, and you've probably got some chapters that have got a retention rate lower than the 70. So one of the things that I strongly recommend is that if you are a chapter that's got a retention rate higher than 70%, is reaching out to the state and your regional teams and explaining what you're doing. And if you are a chapter that has got a retention rate of lower than 70%, is raising your hand and going, look, we're doing well, we're doing our projects, we're getting our stuff done, but you know, our retention rate's a little bit lower than the states. What are the examples? What are the lessons that we can learn to get our retention rate up? But I think it's a positive for Michigan that your retention rate is around 70%. Now, what you've got to think longer term is, well, how do we get the retention rate from 70% to 75, 80%? Because that's when you really are cooking on gas, so to speak. Because if you think that you can get 80% of your members to renew, then you really are doing what our mission is. You really are meeting that product. You really are delivering what you've told people that you're going to give them. Okay, does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
Cool. Okay, so let's go through a couple of other tips and hints. This is a presentation that Membership Director Justin Wetsky actually put up, who's going to be your Deputy National President for 2019, which is incredibly useful. So one of Justin's points, and one of my points as well, is know your numbers. So just from a point of view, make sure that you know how many active members you've got, make sure you know how many you've got to renew, and also look at your year on years as well. So within the database, it will show you the 2018 stats, but you can click and you'll get the 2017 stats for your chapter, your state, and your region. And you will get the breakdown as well from last year. So make sure that you know your numbers. Okay. So your 3 goals with membership is 1, sorting out your retention rate. 2, then thinking the number of members that you're going to recruit. Then tracking your progress. And what you really need to be doing with membership is making sure that you don't leave it until the week before closeout and then suddenly get caught out. Membership needs to be all year round. It doesn't just need to be at closeout. So one of the things that we've got at Nationals that we can get for you as well is we've got a very whizzy Excel sheet. So if you're like me and you love Excel, and you can put in all of your numbers, and then you can put in what you want to plan, and then you can put in what you want to, then you can put in your actuals as well, and it will recalculate for you so that you can then see, are you tracking along for the year to make sure that you're hitting your targets? So we can send that over to you. So one of the things that you want to be doing is having your prospecting list. Now, National Vice President Steve Pickleman as well is a great resource for prospecting. I've got a lot of experience in prospecting as well. Now, in the old days, and you probably will hear from some of the older people where they go, oh, well, in my day, we used to go around cold calling, we used to knock on people's doors. Well, the world that we live in now, if you go around knocking on people's doors, they're probably going to think there's something wrong with you. So what you need to do is you need to be really targeted on your prospecting list. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're going after people who are going to like what you're doing. So if your chapter's more about socials, then you need to go down that route. If your chapter's about community and volunteering, then you need to go down that route. And if your chapter's about leadership development and training, then you need to go down that route. Don't go and recruit people just for the sake of it to increase your numbers who then don't like your products and don't renew, because the chances are if they give you money and then they don't renew, then if they've got a friend who then becomes interested in your organisation, they're probably going to go to their friend and go, oh, don't bother joining them. I joined them because they promised me that we were going to do X, Y, and Z, and I never got to do it. So you want to make sure that you're bringing in members who are going to be of benefit to your chapter and who are going to enjoy your programming that you're doing. So some of the examples that I've got is one, working with your local Chamber of Commerce. And most chambers are finding a struggle to actually get board members for the future, because a lot of chamber boards are people within their 50s and 60s who are beginning to want to retire or go and do something else. and they are struggling to get board members. And so one of the things that we've done before in California, and other states have done it as well, is have a real proper partnership with a local chamber of commerce, to the point that you become the young professionals group for that chamber of commerce. Because what a lot of chambers are doing is they're seeing that they're not getting young people through the door, and they're starting to build their own young professional networks, their own young professional groups. And then that is a challenge for JCs, because what chambers are often doing is they're using their financial resources that they've had over time to effectively subsidize membership for people. So there's a lot of examples of young professional groups where people don't have to pay a membership fee for the year, and they don't even have to pay to go to a mixer, because the chamber of a local business is covering the costs of it. So if you're a young professional and you're 24, 25, and you've just moved to a community, and you're seeing that there's all these free events that you can go to just because you're a young professional, or you can get to go to the event and you only have to pay $10 to get in, and it includes 2 free drinks and a load of appetizers, against paying, say, $100 a year to join the JCs, and you're not entirely sure what we are, well, you're going to go and join the young professionals group every single time, because we've got that start-up cost of that membership. So you've got to think about, well, how do I counteract? How do I show that my membership fee is valuable? So what you really need to think about is, 1, the programming that you're doing, but 2, you've got to think about the opportunities that you can give your new recruits into the organization. So, you know, a lot of the time you get people go, well, why am I going to give you money because I can go to X, Y, and Z events? One of the things that you need to do is make sure that you do not under any circumstance JC vomit at them. And what I mean by that is go, well, the JCs is the best organisation for young people, and we've been involved for nearly 100 years, and Henry Glazenberg set us up in 1915 in St. Louis. And did you know we have Toya, and we gave Elvis and Al Gore an award, and the JCs did the original Get Out the Vote campaign, and the founder of Domino's Pizza used the CPG to start Domino's. 1, that's a lot to talk about very, very quickly. But 2, it's an example of us talking about ourselves so much that people switch off and they don't care. Because, to be honest with you, 24-year-olds do not care that we gave Elvis an award once or Al Gore an award once. And they don't care that we started the Get Out the Vote campaign. And they don't really care that Domino's Pizzas was started using a CPG or a PMG. And they're also not jargon heavy. They're going to get turned off by it. So the conversation that you need to have with people when they come up with the objections of why they're going to give you money and not see a benefit in return is talk about your experiences. Don't just talk about why you joined. Talk about why you stayed. So talk about you joined up, you did X, Y, and Z, and the reason why you stay within the organization is X, Y, and Z. Okay. And then ask them, what do they want to do with their lives? Now, you will get some people go, oh, I don't really know. I've just moved here and I'm not really sure. Well, then talk about the fact that if you've moved to a new community, you do want to build up a network, whether you're starting a business or whether you're like me, Neil Fitzgerald, and you move countries and want to make friends. And talk about the networking side. But don't talk about the fact that it's networking in a traditional sense. It's the fact that you have this network, you have this family of people who will come and help you come what may. So, you know, if you're sick, if you suddenly are out of a job, if you need help moving, if you just need somebody to talk to, there's always a JC in your community who you can hit up and hang out with. If there's somebody where they're like, well, you know, I don't know, I'm really focused on my career. I don't have time to be a JC at the moment because I'm really focused on my career and I want to go and get the big promotion at work. And so, you know, I'm having to work extra hours to prove to my boss that I'm ready for a promotion. And I'm just very career orientated. And I don't really care about saving the world or the children's toy drive. Then talk about how for JCs can provide that extra leadership development and experience to put on their resume so that when that job becomes available, they get it. And talk about how the fact that employers get so many resumes that they're looking for people to stand out. And it's very hard to become a manager or to become a leader in an organization if you're not already a manager, because the first thing the HR department will say, or the hiring manager, is, where's your leadership skills and experience? And so if you've got the outside non-profit experience, that will help you. And talk about how for JCs, you are learning key business skills. If you do a budget for a JC event, you are doing a form of a profit and loss statement. If you put together a project management guide, you are putting together a business plan. If you are chairing an event, you are showing leadership skills. You are chairing something. You are having to cope with difficult people, because there's always going to be one volunteer on a committee who's going to be a bit of a nightmare. Let's face it, right? We're human beings. There's always going to be somebody who might be a little bit hard to deal with. You're learning that. If you are chairing a project as well, you are showing that you've got effective listening skills, because you cannot have a successful project if you're unable to listen to other people and their points of view. So you can talk about the skills that you learn through being a JC to help that person get that promotion, and use examples that you know where people within your chapter have got promoted, because I guarantee you one of the reasons why they got promoted into their role is because of the fact they're a JC. And then if they're like, well, I'm just too busy in general, you know, I've got a job, I'm dating somebody at the moment, it's new, and, you know, I don't really have time. Well, that's a load of rubbish. Everybody has time for something. It's they feel that the JCs are not a priority and they do not see the benefit of being a JC. So they're not going to make it a priority. The answer to those people is to invite them along to an event and go, well, why don't you give us a try? Why don't you come along to an event? You know, it's a mixer, it's nothing too formal, and just hang out with other people in your area. Everyone wants to make more friends, right? If they turn around and go, I don't really want to make any more friends, I'm really happy as I am, then, you know, maybe they aren't the recruit for you. So people will give you objections about joining the chapter. What you have to do is get to the point where you're going to go, okay, maybe they're not the right person for us. So don't spend all of your time chasing people who are never going to be members, okay? So the more you think about who you're going to target, and the more that you work with the chamber and also with other non-profits as well, go to them and go, send us your young people. Send us anyone under the age of 40. We will train them up. We will bring them into the JCs. We will help develop them so that they're better to help for chamber or they're better to help for non-profit. So think of those people. Think through the objections that you're going to get. Think of the examples that you can talk about to overcome those objections. But if you really are talking to a prospect who just is not interested in leadership, just isn't interested in making more friends, just isn't interested in helping the community, then don't waste your time focusing on them. Go and focus on somebody else. And one of the things that you need to watch out for, and this can be a little bit of a challenging conversation actually, is when you get a referral from a senator or an alumni. If you get referrals from senators or alumni, the best recommendation I've got for you is take that person out for a coffee or a beer and find out how interested they actually are. Because one of the things that I have seen is senators and alumni recommend family members to join for JCs. And these family members are never going to join for JCs in a million years, because to them, it's something that their mum, their dad, their uncle, their older cousin, their aunt did. And they've been put off by it because all they've heard about is for JCs for so long that they think that we're some kind of weird cult or it's something for their parents. And I've seen this a lot this year where people have got me to go to membership recruitment events and I am talking to prospects And I know within 30 seconds that that prospect's never going to convert because it's the son of a former senator. And they're like, I'm like, oh, what are you here for? You know, oh, and they're like, oh, well, my mum's been a JC for years. She's actually one of those senators. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, what are you interested in? And you talk to them and they've got no interest in us whatsoever. And they're only going along to keep their mum happy. And you have to have that conversation with those people and see, one, you can say to them, hey, it isn't the same organisation as what your mum joined, right? Even though, let's face it, their parents are probably going to tell them about how great it was during the 60s and 70s and that we gave Elvis an award and JFK was a member and all the rest of it. Or you just have a nice conversation with them, find out what they're interested in as well, and maybe call it a day. So where I'm getting to with these examples is don't spend too much time on prospects that you think aren't going to convert. And don't be disappointed if prospects do not convert. Because fundamentally, what you want to do is you want to have members who are going to contribute to your organization. You are going to get people, when you get them to sign up, who at the end of the first year just don't renew. Because, you know, they might have got married or be getting married or just had a baby or changed jobs. People's priorities change, and that's okay. And when that happens, don't pressure them into renewing. If they're honestly like, look, I'm not going to renew because I've just got married or I just had a baby 3 months ago. The conversation that you should have with those people is go, okay, I understand that your life priorities change. Can we keep you on our distribution list because we'd like to invite you to stuff now and again? And, you know, maybe when your baby's in childcare and things have calmed down a bit, we can contact you again in a couple of months to see how you're doing, and maybe you'd like to sign up in the future again. Okay? I've seen people not renew, have that space that they needed to in their lives, and then renew later on because they felt that the JCs are still there for them. We've checked in with them. We've just made sure that they're okay. We've invited them to stuff, but we haven't come across like we're this crazy cult that's insistent that you have to renew, who gets super offended when you don't renew. So think of how you're communicating to people who don't renew and ask them why. And a lot of the time, they're going to give you an excuse like they're too busy or it's their circumstances. And maybe deep down there is something and they're just too embarrassed to talk about it. But ask people why they're not renewing and talk about that as a board about why people aren't renewing and see if there's a pattern there. But engage with those people. And, you know, there is nothing wrong with you contacting them a year later and going, hey, we know that you didn't renew last year because of your circumstances changed because, you know, you had a baby or you changed jobs. Just seeing how you're doing. Are you interested? Would you like to get back involved? And they may go no, but there's also a decent chance that because you've reached out to them, they're like, oh, yeah, it was really cool when I was a JC. I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. It's just my life changed. And, yeah, I want to get back involved. So that's one way of doing it. But the other thing that I've been trying to get to in this conversation is that with your prospects, make sure that when you recruit people, they're truly people who are going to fit in your chapter. It's really important that you don't go out there, just recruit for the hell of it and almost throw it out there and see what sticks on the wall. You need to have a proper recruitment plan, because if you get your recruitment plan right and you recruit people who are going to be of benefit to your chapter and who are going to get a benefit from your chapter, it makes your renewals and your retention a hell of a lot easier because these people are ready to renew. When retention goes down, it is generally because you are not doing what you promised people. Now, it may not be you who promised that person that particular thing. So you always need to find out who recruited the person and what the conversation was. So whenever you get a new member, ask them who recruited them and ask them what the top 3 things are that they want to do, and make sure that you can at least deliver on one of those top 3 things. So if they join and they sign up and they tell you that they want to work on a community project to fight hunger, then make sure that you're doing something hunger related within their first year. Otherwise, they're not going to renew. You don't necessarily have to do all the 3 things that they want to do, because if you do the top 3 things of every single member, you'll never get anything done, because everyone's an individual and everyone's got their own viewpoint. But make sure that you're delivering something that they think your chapter is going to, because if you don't, then they're not going to renew. Okay, so the easiest way of retention is getting your recruitment and getting your recruitment right in the first place. Okay, then membership engagement is incredibly important. So I've just kind of touched upon it about how you want to ask people why they've joined and set the expectations. Passport is a fantastic resource of getting people onboarded as well, because again, we can come across as being a bit of a cult, and people aren't entirely sure how to get involved. And some people are like, I just want to be a member. I don't necessarily want to chair a project. I don't have the skill set for it. Once I started getting involved in Passport and doing it myself, I was like, this is really cool, because I was reading it and I'm like, I have done that. Yeah, I did meet my local congressman. That's so cool. Yeah, I did do that. And it helped remind me of all the things that I'd done within this organization. And so for me, that was almost self-validation as well, because not every member is going to get an award for everything, but people do like to feel valued and validated. And for me, Passport was a way of reminding myself why I was a member of this organisation and why I was paying effectively to volunteer in a way, because I've got all of these cool extra benefits. So Passport's fantastic. The other thing's mentorship. Get new people a buddy. I was very lucky that I sat next to somebody in my day job who was a former national vice president. She was my buddy for the first 6 months. What she would do is she would text me outside of work and go, hey, we're meeting up next weekend. Do you want to come? Sometimes I didn't want to, but she never got offended with me if I didn't turn up to something. She'd just invite me to the next thing. That really, really helped me. And whenever I got to an event, she was there early to make sure that if I turned up early, that I had somebody to talk to. And what she was great at is that every time I went to an event, she would introduce me to somebody. And she'd go, hi, she'd be like, Neil, meet so-and-so, so-and-so. And what she would do is she would talk about me. And she'd go, oh, Neil really likes soccer, but he wants to learn more about American football. And we know that you have a fantasy football league. Like, can you talk to him about it? Or Neil really wants to get involved in helping out volunteering at a weekend, and we know that you're on the board of this non-profit. Could you talk to him about it? So what she was great at was finding out what I wanted to do and then referring me to people within the JC network so that I truly felt engaged. And that to me was a very powerful way of me staying, because I went to a general membership meeting my first year and we were in a Mexican restaurant and it was a really long table and everyone's wearing suits and everyone's got an agenda, and I was sat at like the end of the table and nobody really spoke to me. And that was actually one of the times Debbie couldn't make something. And I felt really out of place and I didn't know what was going on. And we were talking about bylaws. And I was like, what? I just felt very uncomfortable as a new person and nobody really talked to me. So having that mentor there was an incredible experience for me and a way of getting me involved. And it talks about communication, so the weekly and monthly touch points. So if somebody doesn't renew, stay in touch with them. Don't hound them, but stay in touch with them because they might come back. But communication is very, very important. And one of the biggest things that we're doing, where as an organization, we're going wrong, is we're relying too much on Facebook. We're relying too much on building an event on Facebook and inviting people or sharing it on our Facebook page and thinking that's enough. Facebook's an echo chamber for a start. And second of all, just because you've shared it on the Facebook page doesn't mean to say that Facebook with its algorithm is going to pick it up and give it to everybody within your chapter. So you need to communicate not just on Facebook and not just on email as well. Because how many times have you heard the excuse from somebody, oh, I didn't see the email, or, oh, no, I never got the email. And you know that they did. It's just that they probably don't remember because they're getting inundated with email. So texting is a fantastic way of staying in touch with people. And I'd say the other communication side of things as well to think about is commenting on people's own Facebook, Instagrams, Snapchats as well about what they're up to and staying in touch with them, and phoning people. We do not as an organization or as a generation phone enough people. We rely too much on email and Facebook invites, and then we wonder why people don't come, because everyone's inundated. But if you get a phone call from somebody or text from people, you're far more likely to engage with them. And then the training side. And with the training side, what we mean by that is communicating, asking people what training they want, then communicating to people how you're going to train them, and then getting feedback after the training experience as well to make sure that you're doing what those people want. And like we say, and I talked about this earlier with the example of the person who wasn't going to renew in my home chapter because we weren't doing anything for seniors and they felt that they couldn't speak up and we were too focused on the children's toy drive. Is, you know, that was the lesson for me. Empower people to share the ideas. So the fact that that person then felt a little bit more empowered was fantastic. And the following year, they actually did step up and chair the whole event for us with the toy drive, our homeless clothing drive, and our senior centre ice cream social, because they saw the wider benefit of the whole programming that we were offering during the holiday period. But if we hadn't given them the chance to help put together the ice cream social for the seniors, they would never have renewed. Okay. There's obviously some other memberships alternatives as well. So, you know, you guys have their flat chapter fee. So, you know, you can look at doing your monthly membership fee, credit card payments as well. You can also look at doing once a year membership. Okay. Gratitude. Relationship and state of mind equals the member experience. I've talked about this earlier, where I went through some of the objections people have to paying us money compared to being as part of a young professionals group. We are not paid volunteers. Sorry, we don't pay to volunteer. If you want to volunteer, and I'm going to sound like Justin Wetsky here, go and pick up the trash, go and work at the soup kitchen. The world's going to appreciate you. Yay, you're doing something good. That's wonderful. And it's fantastic that we live in a society where people want to volunteer. But like Justin and I say a lot, the JCs is a membership. It's like a gym membership for your brain, or it's Netflix for your brain. Life is too short to Netflix and chill. And I say this a lot when I'm talking about the JCs in general, is that we are more than just volunteering. You are empowered to take a seat at the table, to collaborate and develop a plan that's going to change your community. Now, for some people, they don't want to change the community because they feel like they don't have the experience for it as well. So that goes back to what I've been talking about, of finding out what people want to do and finding a way of bringing them into the organization. Not everybody is going to want to become a chapter president and then one day maybe serve on the state team or serve on the national team. You will hear from people where they go, I just want to be a member. I don't like that phrase when people turn around to me as a national officer and I ask them what they do and they go, oh, I'm just a member. What? I'm just a member. No, you're at the forefront, because I can't do my role. I can't do my role without you. I'm not in charge. I'm here to help you. So if you are having members where they feel like I'm just a member, you need to reset their focus and you need to reset that communication with them to talk about how important they are and how valued they are, because they are the ones who are creating the positive change in their community. Now, if they really are not interested in creating positive change in the community at all, then pivot to the leadership experience. And so I'm going to finish with an example that I had earlier this year in a state that I was visiting that had a new member like open evening. So go to this new member open evening. It's a happy hour. Great, cool. They did a happy hour, did appetizers. They didn't have a load of videos. It wasn't formal, sat down with an agenda. So cool. So I go in and I'm like, okay, cool. This looks good because this is quite modern, quite interesting. And I start talking to this prospective member who's in her mid-30s. And we're talking about what she likes to get up to. And she's lived in this particular community for 5 years, and she knows people, but she's realizing that she wants to progress at work. She's looking at doing an MBA online, and she wants to really go and get a promotion. And she was quite open to me that one of her main goals in life is to earn as much money as possible. And she wanted to get her own place, and this city is quite expensive to live in. She wanted to get her own place as well. She was tired of renting, but, you know, that was her drive. Her second drive as well, and she was quite open with me, is that she was single and she would like to settle down one day and get married. So we're just talking in general, and I talk about how I joined JC's because I wanted to make friends. I didn't know anybody. Okay, I haven't found the love of my life yet, but I know plenty of people who have found the love of their life within the organisation. But I was talking about the skills that I've picked up. And then disaster struck, because I had a very lovely, lovely alumni who was 42. So, you know, still involved in the organisation and had only recently aged out, who came over and started to talk to us about how on the Saturday morning, the following Saturday morning, that they were going to be getting up at 7:30 in the morning to go and litter pick in a local play park, and how it was a great event and the community was really, really grateful, and it was really, really lovely. And this ex-member asked this prospective member whether this prospective member would come and get up early the following Saturday morning to go and help clear litter in the play park. And this prospective member went, no, I'm not available. And rather than go, oh, okay, this aged out member said, why aren't you available? And the prospective member was like, well, I don't really get up that early on Saturday because I work really long hours during the week, and Friday night's my social time, like I am here. I like to go to happy hours, and then I like to go for dinner, and I normally have a bit of a lie-in on Saturday morning. And this aged out member was like, oh, well, that's part of being a JC is, you know, we go the extra mile and we get up early and we do all these cool community projects because, you know, it's really important that we meet the SGDs. And by this point, I'm cringing internally. And this prospective member goes, what are the SDGs? And the aged out member goes, well, they're the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and they're really, really important. And the prospective member turned around and went, I don't give, excuse my language here, I don't give a damn about the United Nations. And I was like, right. So anyway, so I was like, I'm not going to say the person's name. I was like, can I get you a refill? Now I took the prospective member away. What I should have done is I probably should have stepped in a little bit earlier, but I didn't want to offend this. I didn't want to offend this age out member who's actually a senator as well and cause any of those issues. And it took me about an extra half an hour to convince the prospective member that we weren't about just going to the play park on Saturday morning and cleaning up the rubbish. Because she was like, you told me this is a leadership organisation. So I had to pivot back to how, if you were chairman of the project to go and clear the play park up, that you were acting as a leader, but actually picking up litter on its own doesn't really create positive change. And she said to me, she went, well, if all they do all day is go around cleaning up litter, they're not really helping the community, are they? Because they're sticking a sticking plaster over it rather than actually a long-term solution. And I was like, internally, I'm like, yes, I love you because you've said the magic words, long-term solution. So I said to her, well, this is what we're about, is we're about the long-term solution. So, you know, you are exactly who we want to be talking to, because maybe you and people that you know could help put together a project to do something more than cleaning up for litter in the play park on a Saturday morning. And, you know, it's taken about 3-4 months to get this person signed up, but now they are a member. And I honestly think that they are going to stick within the organisation because they've seen that we are more about picking up litter in the play park on Saturday morning. But this person's all about the leadership skills. So I talked a lot, and I used some other people in the room who I knew had got promoted to talk about our leadership skills and how being a JC had managed to get us promotions at work because we proved that we can manage other people and cope with difficult people. So I'm going to leave it there. So I've got lots of other training documents I can send you on membership, retaining and recruitment. And I realise that I've talked for quite a long while. What we want to do next time is I would encourage you to sign back on again, and we're going to do an open table more version where we're going to make it more interactive. And I want to hear from JCI Michigan members about their experiences of membership, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how we can use some of the experiences that I've got and some other people within the wider JCI network to talk about how we can help you with your membership. But to finalise, the core things are, the more you plan, the easier it is. Plan who you're going to talk to become new members. Talk to your chamber, talk to your other local non-profits, talk to your community colleges as well. Draw up your prospecting list. Work as a team on who's going to reach out to those prospects and who's going to talk to them. Find out what prospects want, and then get them a buddy. Get them somebody who can engage with them, who's like-minded, who's going to keep in contact with them. As people come into the organisation, make sure that you find out the top 3 things that they want to do and that you're delivering on at least one of them. And it's okay for you to tell people, well, we're focused on X at the moment, but I know that you want to do Y and Z as well. So actually, let's bring you in so that you can learn more about the organisation and help us out with Project X. And then what we can then do is look at doing Project Z in 3 or 4, 6 months' time, so that you're showing people that you're listening to them and that you're going to help them build up their skill set so that they can go and do what they want. If they don't want to change the world, talk about the networking and the friendship and the fellowship that we have. And if they are already like, oh, I've already got lots of friends, talk about the leadership development side of things so that they can get promoted at work. And if they're not interested in that either, then talk to them now and again, but leave them alone. Make sure that if you are getting referrals from alumni or senators, that you take them out individually away from the senator or the alumni and find out what they really want to do with their lives. Make sure that you can deliver what they want to do and explain to them that we are not the same organisation that they grew up with, because that's really important. When you do get new people, keep in contact with them. When you do get that person who doesn't renew, ask them why they're not renewing. A lot of the times they probably won't give you the main reason why, but stay in touch with them. And, if it is like something that I've got a new job, then contact them the following year, find out how they're doing. I mean, I wouldn't just not talk to them for 12 months. I would stay in touch with them and then find out how they're doing and see if they want to renew, because all of that will help your retention up. With your retention, once you've got people in, get them a buddy, get them onto Passport Civic Leadership and stay in touch with them. And don't just rely on email and Facebook invites. If you see on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat that they've got a new job, or that their dog's died, or that somebody in their family's sick, reach out to them and just have a chat with them. Just see if they're okay. If they're having a bad day and they've put it on social media, reach out to them and just have a chat with them. If you find that somebody doesn't turn up to a GMM for a couple of months, reach out to them, find out if they're okay. Just have that conversation with them. It may be that they don't like the particular GMM venue, and then you might decide to change venues. Or what I found as well is that I had a series of people in my second year as chapter president who couldn't make the GMM at that time, and they actually wanted to do something at lunch. So we did a Friday lunch club as well, where once a month we would meet at Friday lunchtime in the same restaurant at the same time, because these were all business people who needed a set schedule. And each month we had a different speaker. And that was a way of keeping people engaged, because they couldn't make 7 p.m. on a Thursday for a GMM. So we always had a second GMM that was tailored for them on a Friday at lunchtime. Stay in contact with people. Personal communication is incredibly important. And make sure that you do not JC vomit on people. So as people come within the organisation, I'm very proud of our history, and it is incredible. Do not just rely on our history to recruit members. Talk about what you're going to do and talk about what your future is going to look like as well, because people are going to more engage with the future than the past. Hopefully, that is giving you some ideas and giving you some pointers on how to get new people and how to retain them as well. Like I say, Michigan overall, you guys are doing great. So if you are in a chapter that's below the Michigan average for retention, raise your hand and find out what's going on, and work with your state and work with the other chapters in your regions and districts as well to find out what's happening and see what you can do. If you are a chapter in Michigan that's above the Michigan average, congratulations, share your story and think about what got you there, and think about any gaps that you might have so that you can increase your retention rate further. Hopefully that helps you. Thanks for listening to me. Like I say, next time round, we'll try and make this more interactive, and we'll have, I would love for all of you to think about ideas and examples of memberships so that we can talk about and have more of an open table discussion. And I look forward to carry on working with you guys next year as well. Next year, I will be on the Americas Development Council, which means I will be helping JCI Americas starting new organizations in North America, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. So I'm definitely still going to be around, and hopefully you found this useful. And if you've got any questions, you can email me at nfitzgerald, that's NFITZGERALD @jciusa.org. So that's mfitzgerald @jciusa.org. And finally, for those of you who are on today, if you do have any questions, now's the time to ask them.
Great. Thank you so much, Neil. If Shannon or Caroline want to ask some questions, go ahead and chime in. I know that they're in the middle of other things, so they might be able to. Shannon?
Yeah, so for Wyandotte, we have a pretty well-rounded chapter, and we do a lot of events in the different areas that you were talking about. What do you find in your experience to be the most effective recruitment event? Where do you attract the most prospective members to?
That's a really good question. I find it changes. I find it changes every single year, to be honest with you. I would say for my home chapter's major recruitment event is our 40 under 40. So we do a version of Top Outstanding Michigander or Top Outstanding Young Americans. We do it for 40 people under the age of 40 in our community. And we work with our local magazine. And we get about 70 to 100 nominations, depending on the year. And the 40 award winners, we take out for dinner in a really nice hotel, formal ballroom, suit and tie event. Everyone gets dressed up. It's really, really cool. And we get community leaders to hand out the awards, and it's a lot of fun. That generally will get people into the organization. And if they come to 2 events, we pay their membership for the first year. And our retention from that is about 75 to 80% for any 1 year. And most of our board members have come from the 40 under 40 program. And my chapter president next year has come from 40 under 40. So that is a great way of us getting people engaged. Pasadena JCs, where I'm going to visit this afternoon, one of their big recruitment things is their internship program. So they have interns who help them with their major projects. And then once they become as of age for JCs, they find a lot of them renew. What they've also done this year is they've done Facebook advertising. For the first 6 months or so, they found that they were advertising on Facebook and they weren't getting people to join. But then they found in the last 6 months, people have started to come to the events. And when they ask how did they find out about for JCs, they're like, oh, I saw your advert on Facebook. And a lot of those people have said, yeah, I saw your advert on Facebook for quite a while and I always wanted to go, but, you know, I got stuck at work or something happened and I couldn't make it. But you guys carried on advertising. And so I finally decided to come along. And that has been a great resource for them to go and get people. Now, in terms of the events, you know, if you've got a membership booth for all the different events that you're doing as well, go through and see what your conversion rate is like from those events, and see whether it's the same year on year. Because one of the things that I've seen before is that people will sign up and say they're going to be a member because they're at an event and they're all happy and they're all, you know, they're kind of put on the spot, and then you never hear from them ever again. So I'll be interested to find out from you, Shannon, where do you get these people from, and what is your conversion rate like from your prospecting list?
I'm actually not involved in membership like that this year, so I don't have data for my home chapter. I will next year. But this is kind of like my first peek into the membership side of things.
Okay.
And the gentleman that's taking the membership VP role in our chapter has never served on the board before. So it's kind of like a little bit of the blind leading the blind. But I do have Derek, who's been a membership VP before.
Okay.
And Michelle Kelly is still on our board. She's doing ID, but she is also very strong in membership. So I'm hoping that with all of that support, he'll have a very successful year.
Oh, well, I would certainly encourage him to contact Dan and Beth and to be part of the roundtable discussion that they're planning to set up before the end of the year. Because the more that he engages and prepares now, the easier it's going to be for him to hit the ground running in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will
So,
pass that information. And
yeah.
I'm actually meeting with him tomorrow at noon to kind of go over what he sees his strategy to be and to look at the documents that we got in lots last weekend.
Great. So now I definitely encourage him to be part of the next roundtable online training.
Yeah, I will do that for sure. Thank you so much. This was an excellent training for me.
Cool. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, it was very informative, and I like a lot of what you said, because I find myself vomiting on people on a regular basis with a lot of our facts. And
we all do it. We all do it. So sometimes, and I have to tear back and go, Neil, what are you doing? You're not doing what you tell other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it can definitely be like that. Cool. Okay, is there any other questions at all?
Well, I think that's it, Neil. Thank you so much. This was very informative, and we'll be saving this online on our YouTube channel for people to view in the future, to come back to reference this. And like Neil stated before, we'd like to try to do another roundtable coming up here in before the end of the year. So keep your eye out on post it here for that information. So thank you, Neil. All right. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you all later. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your weekend.
See you, Neil.
Bye-bye.